What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Pet Shop Boys, and we're now moving to the next chapter, which is to say the 1996 album Bilingual. Thank you again to Seb, as well as to all those who've been commenting and enjoying these more recently weekly Pet Shop Boys reactions. Though currently I'm posting this on Patreon, but I'm pretty sure that within the next week, I will be putting everything I've been doing the last few weeks on Patreon while sorting out this ridiculous situation on my YouTube onto YouTube. So hopefully that's where you're seeing this now. In any case, the point is we are on to their next album, and I'm especially excited for this album, in particular for the tune we're going to hear next week, Single, because that is one that I know, but I think I also know, at least in part, through a different version, this opening track, Discoteca. Allow me to explain. When I was in the earliest phase of my DJ career, very late 90s, leading into the early 2000s, I eventually got a Pet Shop Boys remix vinyl, and on this remix vinyl, with remixes done by hard trance, hard house legend Baby Doc, there were two remixes of Single Bilingual. I see here in the album it's just written as single, but again, I know the original by Pet Shop Boys, in part because I got that remix vinyl, and it does use the two words in rhyming tandem, so it's not quite the title track for the album, but seemingly close to it. But there's also a remix on that Baby Doc remix vinyl of Discoteca. So yes, this opening tune, I don't think I've ever heard the original, but I think I've heard a lyric from it because of the remix on that vinyl. And in fact, maybe even on the Single Bilingual Baby Doc remix, one of them, again, there's two different remixes, which incidentally, I think there's actually two reactions to it on my channel. Basically, if you're interested to hear a hard trance remix, I think from '98, of Pet Shop Boys Single, then you can check on my channel, because I did, I think, two reactions to it. One of them came from my old YouTube channel, and then I think I redid it, and I think they're both currently on my YouTube channel. In any case, the lyrics or the vocals are there from Neil, but otherwise it is a very different tune. I remember Seb listened to it, and he's like, this kind of trance is not really my thing, but I was curious because, I like Pet Shop Boys, so you might check that out. In any case, because I had that remix vinyl, in a few years after that, I think I did seek out the Pet Shop Boys original of Single just because I was curious to hear it, and I absolutely loved it. Now, for whatever reason, that didn't send me on a Pet Shop Boys deep dive at the time, so that is my own loss. But of course, I love that in the last couple of years I've taken this journey, and there's a number of folks who've been enjoying the voyage through their albums and B-sides and remixes and so on, which again, they are one of the most prolific groups I've yet seen. But yes, again, I do know the original of Single, though as I said, I don't think I've heard this opening track, Discoteca, other than through the Baby Doc remix on that vinyl I have, and I don't think I've ever reacted to the Discoteca remix, so it might be good to do it. I'm not going to be able to do it in this session, but sometime soon I might do a reaction to that trance remix. In any case, thinking about the title Discoteca, it seems to reference discotheques, which again, I was born in 1980, so I think discotheque culture, it was before my time, but the rave parties, the techno and trance parties that I began going to in the mid-90s, I think they're an outgrowth of or a successor to the discotheque culture and scene that had come before it. And given the spelling and phrasing, I'm guessing this is like in a Spanish-speaking culture, like, it's, maybe on the Iberian Peninsula somewhere. So yeah, as I said, I think I've heard a vocal from this track because of that remix, but I don't think I've ever heard the tune. So it certainly suggests a scene, and maybe a scene in a particular linguistic location. But other than that, there's no real indication. It could be about the people, it could be about an experience, maybe it's offering commentary on that type of world and those types of people who go to discotecas. So yeah, I'll try to catch what I can, but again, there's a slight bit of history for me with the opening two tracks on this record, though, as I said, I only know Single in any detail. So In any case, let's hear it. This is Pet Shop Boys. The track is Discoteca, and it's the first tune on their 1996 album, Bilingual. Spanish. Oh. That beat structure. See, because I was thinking, I know that vocal with the discoteca word and line, but I don't think it's just from the like. Isn't that in single too? Like even the like sort of stomping, very frenetic percussion, like that's in single too, right? So okay, first of all, I think it is set in Spain. I mean, I don't think he says it specifically, but he's I don't speak the language, and then he of course begins speaking in Spanish. So yeah, it sounds, and he's saying like I'm still going out like normal, going out. I think certainly in the '90s when we were going to rave parties, that like, are you going out this weekend? That meant, are you going to a party? Are you going to a techno or trance party? So I feel like here, going out refers to the nightlife of the discotheques. So even though it sounds like he's a fish out of water a little bit, because he doesn't understand the words and the songs that he's hearing and so on, he's going out and he begins, I guess, learning it, and he is single and bilingual. I feel like I should just listen to single. I think that's what we're going to do. But just to comment on this verse, Mark mentioned when I did the reaction to One Thing Leads to Another, because it had that sort of, syncopated, down-tempo, bit of a like trip-hop percussive rhythm, and he was saying that's kind of foreshadowing some of the things you're going to hear on Bilingual, and immediately out of the gate I heard that. Now there was that little keyboard run that did have a bit of a Spanish flair, so yeah, I'm curious how much of what I just heard, including the Discoteca line and the like rolling drums, is going to be part of single. So let's just go ahead and do that one too. We'll make this a longer reaction, and away we go with single. And once again, if you're interested to hear what this coming tune sounds like in late 90s hard trance form, check out my Baby Doc remix reaction. God, I love this song. awesome. Again, I've heard that tune a number of times, though I don't think I've heard it in a few years. So, number one, it's every bit as good as I remember. Number two, I think it is very much in sequence with the first track, so I'm glad in the end we listened to both of them in this same session. But yes, I love that it's almost like a xylophone type melody. There's what's the right word? It's not a dark tune, but it has like a bit of mystery to it. The Sonics just have a bit of this like mysterious feel, and I enjoy, there's sort of this narrative of him, flying to different countries, Brussels, Barcelona, going to these different cities and, checking into hotels. And indeed, that there were a pair of lines I pointed. Those lines are the ones that are sampled again and again in the Baby Doc remix. So yes, those two lines in particular really stand out to me, because that goes all the way back to the late 90s for me, and the record that is still in my collection. But yes, I love he's checking into what was like a single suite, and there's faxes waiting for him when he arrives at the hotels and so on, like fax machines, remember those? But yeah, I just love the Sonics, this like shuffling type of beat with this, intense, constant drum loop. And I enjoy Neil, again, singing bilingually in the track, so there's a bit of like meta reality to that. But yeah, again, I feel like it is a direct follow-up to the opening tune, so clearly there's an emerging theme. Now, again, I don't know if that's just kind of these two songs in tandem, or if it's a bit more of a concept album, but I'm looking forward to exploring that in the coming weeks. But yeah, I just really, really love this one, and obviously shout out to Neil and Chris, who inspired someone who, again, Baby Doc, I think Quentin Fanglin is his name, in the hard trance and hard house communities of the late 90s, early 2000s. He was a big name, and he put out a lot of tunes, he was very prolific, but clearly, he enjoyed and was inspired by the Pet Shop Boys, and even though his remixes of this tune are quite distinct, they don't really sound like the original here, it certainly seemed to be a launch pad of inspiration for him to make some cool remixes, and now it feels sort of like full circle coming back and doing these reactions to the original. But yes, I love these two opening tunes, and I definitely hear, a bit of that like syncopated rhythm, which was referenced when I did the reaction to One Thing Leads to Another. So yeah, looking forward to the rest of the album. Once again, shout out to Seb. Let me know what you think of these tunes, and as I said, if you're interested to hear the Baby Doc remix of Single, which I think on that record is called Single Bilingual, I think there's like 2 different versions of it on my YouTube, so check that out, and I will see you next time. Peace.